So on the 13th of March, I made a video about football being cancelled for the next month. I also think that that was the last time that I had a haircut, but disregarding that, the EFL has made a statement and there is light at the end of the tunnel, ladies and gentlemen. They have announced that Championship football will be returning in 3 weeks' time on June the 20th. I, for one, could not be happier. Honestly, it feels like absolutely ages since we've got to talk about actual live Championship football, doesn't it? I want to get your guys' reaction in the comments down below as to what you make of the news. And so what I thought we'd do for today's video is unpack this a little bit, what it'll mean for the rest of the season going forward. And then we'll have a bit of a dive into the Championship table and the implications for what I think could happen for the rest of the season in terms of where teams are going to be finishing and things like that. How's this break in the season going to affect the form book and things like that? People who are on a good run, a bad run, people returning from injuries. There's a whole lot to come into this. So if you do go to enjoy, please do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. And I suppose, yeah, in 3 weeks' time, we'll be having our regular Championship weekly predictions and roundup videos coming out, which I cannot wait to get back to making. Obviously, the only football that we've really had to watch lately has been the Bundesliga, and obviously, with that being played behind closed doors, those of you who have been watching the Bundesliga, I'd be interested to know from you guys, what do you make of football without the fans? Because I think, we probably would be all be kidding ourselves if we said that, it was the same experience, because let's face it, it's not being able to go to the games and things like that, but for the crazy world that we're living in at the moment, I think that this is like the best we're going to get. And the thing that I've been saying from day one really is that the season really should be finished on the pitch, and at least we're going to get the chance to do that now. We've spoken previously about finishing it off points per game, off a weighted system or not. None of that's going to matter anymore. But there have been varying viewpoints so far around the Championship in terms of what people make of football returning. For example, the chief exec at QPR, Lee Hughes, has had quite the opposing view to football coming back this soon. He thinks that it's being rushed back. Obviously, people have been in training since the 25th of May. This week, I think clubs are going to start contract training once again. He says that the restart in 3 weeks' time is just too soon. On the flip side of that, despite Middlesbrough being only 2 points above the relegation zone at the moment, their manager Jonathan Woodgate has been quite positive about the season returning. So it's fair to say that there's going to be a lot of different viewpoints coming into this one. I think that one thing that's going to be quite evident when the season does get going again is I think there will be quite a split between the clubs who have kept their players, really fit throughout this lockdown. They'll have had them on tight regimes, making sure they're keeping up to date with their fitness and things like that. Other clubs, I've got a bit of a feeling that they may have let that slide a little bit, and I think that that's going to be evident when it does come to football being back. 3 weeks of training, if you've not kept yourself fit over this lockdown, you're not going to be able to perform at your top level, are you? Leeds United were one club who I think have had rigorous sort of training exercises for their players while they have been at home, as you'd expect under a manager like Bielsa. So I think that the fitness levels of players coming back is going to be all over the place in the Championship, to be honest with you. And the EFL is also going to continue on the regular testing for players during this period, and in the latest round of tests there were 10 Championship players who did come out as positive for COVID-19, one of them being Jayden Stockley, the Preston striker. Other clubs who have confirmed that they had a case from that recent round of testing were Middlesbrough, Fulham and Cardiff, so obviously all those players will now self-isolate. And then after that we get to a bit of a sticky situation where we start to talk about players' contracts who are expiring at the end of the season and what actually happens to them. So there have been some clubs like Preston North End, for example, who have got Paul Gallagher and Tom Clark, their contracts expiring. I think the club's currently in the negotiation with them to get a deal for them until this current season is finished, and then after that they'll look at extending them if they want to. Gallagher especially I think is definitely going to get a contract extension in that case. But if we then move over to Charlton, this gets really sticky when it comes to them, because they've got 3 players who have said to manager Lee Bowyer that they don't want to play when football comes back because their contracts are expiring. They don't want to risk getting injured and then not being able to move on. The 3 players in question for Charlton are David Davis, who's on loan from Birmingham, Chris Solly and Lyle Taylor. Obviously Lyle Taylor amongst all 3 is the one grabbing the headlines at the moment because he is Charlton's top scorer, and he's been absolutely prolific in the league this season. In 18 starts he scored 11 goals in the Championship, which is an unbelievable return. I think we all knew that Taylor would be moving on at the end of the season. It was clear to see, he only had 1 year left of his deal. There was a lot of interest throughout January. His goals were crucial in getting Charlton promoted. He scored 25 in their promotion season, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see this happen with more clubs throughout the Championship whose contracts contracts are expiring, obviously. There was actually a decent debate on TalkSport about this. I know that TalkSport could be a little bit dodgy at times, but I think they presented both arguments quite well here, and I can sort of see both sides of it. Obviously, I can see Charlton's side and Lyle Taylor's side. They're both looking to secure their own interests, and there's no middle ground that they can really meet in. In terms of Charlton, they'll of course argue that, you know, he is still under contract there, so while you're under contract, surely you should be playing for them. They're the ones that have been paying his wages, and they gave him this platform to succeed. You know, Charlton picked him up from Wimbledon a few years ago, and from then on, you know, they've taken his game to another level. On the other side of that, you then got Lyle Taylor, who is now 30 years old. This is probably going to be like the one sort of like big money move in his career. You know, there's been a lot of big clubs circulating around him. If he was to pick up a serious injury for the final matches of this season, that would then lead to a complication. And at the end of the day, obviously, he's then looking out for himself over anyone else. And obviously for Charlton especially, it is quite damning because they are one of the clubs currently sat in the bottom three. They're 22nd in the league at the moment, 2 points off safety, and if Lee Bowyer somehow manages to keep Charlton up this season, that guy deserves a knighthood. Like, what an unbelievable job he would have done. He did great to get them promoted in the first place, but if he manages to keep this squad in the league, with all the turbulence that surrounded Charlton this season, with the owners, the amount of injuries that they've had, the amount of youth players they've had to promote to the first team, the budget he's been working on, he's had players recalled and taken away from him. You know, he only had Conor Gallagher for half a season until he got recalled and then got sent to Swansea. The guy really is working against all odds, and Charlton fans and fans of Championship clubs in general, let me know down below what you make of the Lyle Taylor situation. Would you want him at your club? It's an interesting story, and I feel like we're going to get more of these cases as the weeks go on around the Championship about players who aren't so keen to play. So guys, let me know down below what you make of this one. So when football does return, it's not been confirmed by the EFL, but I'd imagine that they go off the original fixture list before football was cancelled, and we just pick it up from there and then go onwards as we usually would. So if we actually look at the weekend that football was suspended, this was the fixture list, and we've got some absolutely cracking fixtures coming up on the first weekend if they are going to follow this. So obviously Fulham against Brentford, what a matchup that'd be. Third versus fourth, Fulham still have that outside chance of sneaking into the top two should Leeds or West Brom mess up, so that'll be a really good game. Some other standout fixtures in there: Sheffield Wednesday against Nottingham Forest. Obviously the reverse fixture of that was mental when Jordan Rhodes scored a hat-trick at the City Ground. West Brom Birmingham has the potential to be a cracker, as does Cardiff against Leeds. The game at Ellen Road there was bonkers. And there's also a lot going on around the bottom of the Championship as well, with Hull going up against Charlton in a massive crunch match, two of the most out of form sides in the league going up against each other there. So when football is back, we do have a lot to look forward to for the opening weekend. Then if we look at the Championship table, this is what we are faced with. Now, in like the history of football, we've never seen anything like this, with a break in the middle of the season. I'm fascinated to see how teams are going to react from this and bounce back, because one of the first things that I'm drawn to with the Championship at the moment is the race for the top six. Obviously, as a North End fan, it was pretty bonkers because everyone from sort of like 5th downwards was in a terrible run of form. Like 5th down to 11th, no one could string together a couple wins on the bounce and get themselves into the top six. It was a really bizarre time. In fact, from 4th down to 11th, the only side in that bracket of teams to win 2 of their last 5 matches was Millwall. And apart from that, everyone else had only won 1 of their last 5. So we could be seeing a rejuvenated race for the top 6 where suddenly everyone hits form at just the right point in time in the season. Only 3 points separate 6th place from 11th at this point in time. And then even looking further down from that, you know, if Derby or QPR were able to put down a miraculous run, then who knows. And then they're on the bottom of the Championship. We also have quite a similar occurrence as well, with Charlton in 22nd. There's only 3 points separating 17th, with Stoke City sat there, and 22nd with Charlton in that position at the moment. So the race for survival is also a fascinating one in the Championship. Can Luton, under new manager Nathan Jones, revitalise the rest of their season? Can Barnsley do it as well? Barnsley have got 7 points to make up and Luton have got 6, but we've seen crazier things happen in the Championship before. I'd say that each of them has their fair share of winnable games between now and the end of the season, so we'll see how having no fans in the stadiums affects the Championship. But for the top 6 and the bottom 3, it's going to be a really interesting shape up with these final few matches. And of course then we've got the battle for the Championship title itself going on, really that battle between Leeds and West Brom, only 1 point separating them. at this point in time. So guys, it'd be interesting to know from you guys, how do you see the championship table shaping up, and how do you think it's actually going to be affected by this break in the season and the fact that there's going to be no fans in the stadium? You know, it'll be interesting to see how home advantage is affected by this. From what the EFL has said so far, they are seemingly quite keen that all the games take place at that club stadium. So we are seeing in the Premier League a few games will have to be played at neutral grounds. At the moment in the Championship, it's not looking like that will be the case, which I think is a positive, really. But apart from that, guys, that will wrap it up for today's video. So if you're going to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. And let me know down below, guys, what is your reaction to football coming back in 3 weeks' time? I, for one, I'm just absolutely buzzing to get it back. I know it's not the same, but it's at least something to get us going until the end of the season. So get all your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm interested to see a few different viewpoints on this one. What are you most looking forward to seeing when football returns? I can't wait to see Ben Pearson just flying in for a crunching tackle or something like that. It's been too long since I've seen something like that. And with the way the Championship table is shaping up at the moment, it should be absolutely fantastic. So guys, thank you very much for watching today's video. If you would like to see more regular Championship content, then make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.